What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio and the DFS Picks and Prediction Show. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, where me, Weezy, and Luke break down the upcoming card from a DFS perspective and also give our predictions for the fights as well. Also, be sure to leave a like and also subscribe to here to Pub Sports Radio so you don't miss out on all the content throughout the week. Lots of great guys on the channel. And if you have not yet, go check out Stat Diggers, where me and Uncle Weezy go balls deep into all the fights from a stats-driven perspective every Sunday night. So as always, we're going to go back and forth throughout the panel. We're going to give our fights to target, our fight to fade, our fighter to fade, favorite dog, favorite GPP play, favorite cash play, favorite value play, favorite dart throw, and then also give out a lineup towards the end. And we'll also go over the results from last week as well. So yeah, really looking forward to this card. Kind of a very tricky card from a DFS perspective, considering we have 10 fights and we are in Vegas. So, crossing my fingers, but I'm hoping all the fights do stay on, because if we lose another fight, we can really not afford to do so. So first, I'll kick it around. Uncle Weezy, I think everybody did bad from a betting perspective, but from a DFS perspective, how did you do last week?
About as good as I did in betting, man. It just didn't go well, dude. I was not on Abdul Razak Al Hassan. I was not a fan of his. So him being one of the, him being optimal last week just pretty much ruined it for me right there. But, there were a lot of fights that went ways that I didn't see them going. So, yeah, definitely not my week for betting or for DFS, but it's a new week. We got a bunch of new stats. We got a bunch of new reads. I'm ready to get into it with you guys.
Sounds good. How about Luke? How'd you do last week, and are you looking forward to this card?
Yeah, from a betting perspective, I took a small L, but actually I did pretty well on Draftkings. I actually went like 26 for 26 on my cash lineups, which I wasn't necessarily anticipating, because not necessarily every score was put up was great, but it was a really funky slate. So yeah, pretty good on DK for me, but a slight L on the betting front.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Had a pretty big L in betting, but yeah, DFS actually saved me. Had Abdul Razak Al Hassan in my single and in my cash. Took a shot there. It definitely worked out. Finished second on my single entry. I think it was like 50 people in there, but it was like a $50 single entry, so that definitely saved me there a little bit. But yeah, hopefully it's a good week in terms of betting and DFS this week. I am liking some spots from a DFS perspective and also from a betting perspective as well. So before we do get started, do you want to hit the chat real quick? We have Thomas in the chat saying Brunson plus 160. We'll talk about that fight for sure. Billy saying, I heard there was a party on Pub tonight, so I brought the meatballs. Oh, Billy's on. Molly Meatball McCann. We'll definitely talk about her. Mr. Drail, what's up, guys? Mearshart was an amazing upset. He sure was. Murdoch was like, what, minus 700? And yeah, Mearshart definitely got it done. Smash the like button. I agree. Billy saying, thank you, boys, for putting in that work and being the trendsetters in the community. No problem, Billy. Thank you for hanging out, and thank you for doing some awesome content as well. We have James in the chat. What is up, James? This fight card seems pretty straightforward. Yeah, somewhat some close fights, but some fights that, do have some strong reads on. And let's get that cash. I agree. Joshua in the chat as well. What's up, Brady? What is up, Joshua? Chase in the chat saying, what's up, Brady? What is up, Chase? We got Mystic in the chat. What is up, Mystic? Chris in the chat as well. Brady and Weezy. Luke, what's good? What is good with you? Chase said, I guess I found out what ass shaving meant. Yeah, there were a few ass shavings last week for sure.
I already knew what it meant, but I got an up close and personal, like front row view of just what a real ass shaving looks like last week, gentlemen. It was bad, but that's, hey, we got to get back at it. We got to get back. Let's leave it in the rearview mirror, man.
How do you feel about the Drady decision last week? I don't know what you mean there. Again, we got Razor in the chat. What is up, Brady and fellas? What is up with you, Razor? Hopefully you're doing well. Okay, so I say we get started here, and as always, we're going to start with the fight to target for UFC Vegas 36. So we'll kick it off to Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, what is your fight to target for UFC Vegas 36?
Well, it's an interesting week this week. We got 8 out of 10 fights that are kind of closely lined, in comparison to last week where we had we had several huge favorites. And even the huge favorites were priced pretty low to where they were affordable. It wasn't like they were up near 10,000. They were closer towards 9. This week we only have 2 favorites that are minus 200 or a wider line than that. So, we're going to have to try to pick some spots that are in the middle of the card that are, 60-40 fights and try to be on the right side of those. But one of the fights that I want to target this week is Julian Erosa versus Charles Jourdain. This is going to be a very high-paced fight. Both of these guys knock people down and get knocked down. And the knockdown is the absolute highest scoring thing that you can get in UFC fantasy sports, 10 points in DraftKings. So any potential knockdowns are huge. And both of these guys have such horrible takedown defense. If anybody even chooses to grapple, it's like 100% chance that you're going to get the takedown. Plus, it's one of the fights that's heaviest lined to finish inside the distance. So I like this fight to finish inside the distance. I like there to be maybe even multiple knockdowns, an early finish, and high volume. So I think it's a great fight to target for this week.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you there. That probably will end up being a bet of mine, some type of violence bet, whether it is the fight doesn't go or the under 2.5 as well. Definitely looking at that. Definitely going to be a banger for sure. I'm with you there. Weezy, as far as you, Luke, what is your favorite fight to target?
Yes, I'm actually going Paddy, Pimblett, and Vendramini. It only has the 5th best ITT line on the card, but I feel like how both guys fight, it just kind of forces action. Coupled with Pimblett, I think, being a pretty big liability at space. He's not a good striker. Vendramini throws heat, has power, will come forward. So I think, when this fight's on the feet, it's going to be a little hairy for Pimblett. And then the ground is also really interesting in the fight, is that's, really where Pimblett's bread and butter is, getting takedowns, advancing, dominant positions. But he's also been taken down and extensively controlled as well. Vendramini's not the greatest wrestler in the world, but he is a black belt in jiu-jitsu as well. We haven't seen Vendramini on his back, so I think it's an interesting consideration for, how he kind of defends that kitchen sink type approach from Pimblett, but also we might be able to see, Vendramini have some success on the ground as well. So I see a lot of takedowns, transitions, potential reversals, some high action on the feet, some potential knockdown considerations, or, even knockout potential from Vendramini as well. So I think this one's a little bit floating under the radar from a fight to target perspective on DraftKings. I think depending on which guy's really able to get off on their game, I think they put up a high score and find the optimal.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you there, Luke. You got to think there's going to be a lot of grappling in this fight, a lot of takedowns, a lot of reversals in this fight as well. And you mentioned the power of Luigi Vendramini. So yeah, I'm definitely with you. I think it's a very important fight to target, especially at those price tags as well. 8,300 for Pimblett and then 7,900 for Luigi Vendramini. So I'm with you there. For me, I'm going to do Tom Aspinall versus Sergey Spivak. So I do have some question marks with the Tom Aspinall side in terms of, what happens if he does get extended? What happens if Tom Aspinall does get into the second round? Because his last fight against Andrei Arlovski, that was actually his first win outside of the first round. It looked like he was slowing down a ton. So my thinking is, what happens if Sergey Spivak is able to get this fight down to the mat? And I have seen in the past Tom Aspinall getting taken down a lot more than I'd like to see. Of course, this was, 4 or 5 years ago. I'm assuming he's going to be making improvements, but still, I think Spivak's very live in the spot. But with that said, Aspinall has first round knockout upside. So I do like both sides here. I think Spivak has the wrestling upside, takedowns, control time. If it does get extended, maybe he can take over late, maybe find a late finish or win a decision. Whereas Aspinall, I think he has that first round knockout upside. We have seen Spivak knocked out in the first round, but either way, a fight I'm definitely looking to target. Two heavyweights that are going to throw down, and I definitely see a finish as well, as you do see the line -300, which is the biggest on the card for the fight. Doesn't go to decision. Anything else stick out to you guys for this one?
We got the Gaming Wolf saying in the chat that Sergey's having visa issues. Is that true? He's saying that the fighter with Tom is looking for a new fighter.
I think it was the first, because wasn't he supposed to fight Sergey Pavlovich?
And Pavlovich had. Oh yeah, yes. Yeah. He's confusing Pavlovich with, because they're both named Sergey.
Yeah, Sergey. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope Sergey Spivak isn't having visa issues, because he's from Moldova. So that's a bit of a flight. But yeah, that's a good. There's a lot of good fights to target on this card. But I really like what Luke said about the Vendramini fight in particular, because that's going to be a fight that probably has a lot of grappling, and grappling minutes in DraftKings score way more than striking minutes. So yeah, I'm with him there too.
Yeah, big time for sure. So we will move on here, and we are going to go to the fight to fade, and we will start with Luke. What is your fight to fade?
Yeah, so I might be a little different here this week in Centurion, but I'm actually going with the main event in Darren Till versus Brunson with only 10 fights on this slate. It'll be interesting to see what ownership is like on both guys, but Till kind of works in a style where, he doesn't really throw a lot. He doesn't eat a lot. He can slow a lot of fights down. I think he's only scored over 100 plus points in one of his W's. Obviously, there are some defensive issues with Brunson. Brunson does hit hard. It is only a 10 fight slate. So if I had to pick one, this is what I'd go with. But, small range constructions only if you're doing large field tournaments. I wouldn't fade this one, but said small field constructions. And then, Brunson has actually scored really well in the past, but it's largely predicated on first round KOs or him having extended wrestling success. And we know Darren Till does have pretty solid takedown defense as well. I wouldn't be shocked with Brunson getting takedowns here as well. I guess I still have some questions, I guess, how much extended wrestling success he can have on a guy in Till. So in general, I kind of feel like it'll be a slower paced fight on the feet with definitely some big exchanges in there. But I think the grappling of Brunson could potentially be nullified. And with that, I think you might be able to be unique in fading the main event here this week.
Yeah, Luke, I thought it was being different as well because I have the same thing. Darren Till against Derek Brunson, going to be fading this one. And, there's not a single fight that I'd actually completely fade, but if I did to pick one, I'm with you, it would be this one, just based on the fact that I think Till, for him to be on the optimal lineup, especially at 8,800, he's really reliant on a first-round knockout. And even then, even if he does get a first-round knockout, say he does, score 90 points for the first round, gets a knockdown, lands 10 strikes, scores 108 points, 105 points, 103 points. I still think someone like maybe a Tom Aspinall, maybe somebody like a Jack Shore has potential to outscore him. So I think Darren Till is really, really reliant on a first-round knockout there. And, maybe he could. Derek Brunson has been knocked out in the first round several times, but if I had to pick one, it would be this fight. I can see it getting extended, and I'm with you. I can see Derek Brunson, having a little bit of success in the takedowns, but not much. I do think Darren Till does win the fight, but I'm kind of thinking more of like a late knockout after Derek Brunson does slow down. But yeah, I can definitely see it being a fight that is very low volume. You see Darren Till landing 2.27 significant strikes per minute. I can see it getting extended. And if Darren Till does get, say, a third, fourth, or fifth round knockout, he probably scores horribly. So yeah, if I had to pick one fight to fade, it would be the Till Brunson fight. But and if I had to pick a fighter to play more, it probably would be the Derek Brunson side because of the wrestling upside, the volume upside, and he has some finishing potential himself. But Weezy, what are you looking at for the fight to fade?
I've got a different fight to fade, but I just want to pile on Darren Till here for a little bit if I could. I keep stats, and one of the stats that I keep is raw DraftKings points per minute, which means it just strips out any points that you get from winning fights, and it basically is just an indication of how active you are in the cage. And the second lowest fighter on the cage that doesn't have 0 points per minute because they're making their debut is Darren Till at 1.61 DraftKings points per minute.
Yuck.
Right. And then you look at guys like Brunson, 4.08, Aspinall, 6.04, Spivak, 3.81, Shore, 4.51. About the average is the high twos, the low threes. This guy's less than half of average in terms of his output in the cage. So, Darren Till, if he's entirely knockout dependent. If he doesn't get a knockout, you are going to be just furious with his score. There's no two ways about it. But the fight that I'm actually fading has the guy that has the lowest work rate per minute in the UFC on this card, and that is the Bukauskas Rountree fight. Modestas Bukauskas only scores 1.55 DraftKings points per minute, and Khalil Rountree only scores 2.5. Now, they both give up around 3 points a minute, so they're not as defensively sound. But this is another fight that's entirely knockout reliant. These guys are both low-volume strikers, and if you've watched Modestas' tape in the UFC, this dude just runs. And he's actually got great conditioning, so he can just keep running the entire fight. And Khalil Rountree isn't really chasing anybody. His feet are flat on the canvas. He doesn't move. He just stood in front of Marcin Prachnio for 3 rounds. So I think that Rountree is going to have a hard time finding Modestas. I don't think you're going to see much action in that fight. And I think it's going to be one of the lowest scoring fights on the card. And even though it probably has one of the better inside the distance, a fight doesn't go to decision lines on the card, I disagree with that. And I'm going to be fading that fight pretty heavily.
Yeah, I think finish is probably more on the Rountree side. Like I am having a tough time. Maybe Modestas can get like a late finish, but yeah, I'm with you. I think that fight isn't a good decision. Is just a ton off minus 300 there. One thing I did want to add in terms of the Till and Brunson fight, you take a look at Darren Till's scores. Listen to these: 19, 50, 25, 0.6, 56, 59, 68, 30. 82 and 109. So only one time, like Luke said, he has hit over 100 points, and only one time it looks like he's been on the optimal lineup. So, anything else you guys wanted to add? All right. So next we will go to the fighter to fade, and I'll just start Darren Till, 8,800. It was between him and Kim for sure. I don't think I'll have many of either, but I do think that Till's going to have some ownership. Till is definitely a fan favorite. I think people are going to want to play him for that knockout upside, but I just have serious concerns with that terrible, terrible volume. He's never landed more than 49 significant strikes in a single fight. And, he does get those extra 2 rounds, like somebody mentioned in the chat. But, even then, he's not going to go for takedowns. Derek Brunson has a 94% takedown defense. Darren Till's not going to get any control time. Just going to be a lot of looking at each other. So I think Darren Till's really dependent on the optimal lineup in getting that first round knockout. And if he doesn't, he's going to bust bad and probably have some ownership with him as well. So Darren Till, for me, as my fade, but I'm not going to completely fade him, but he's probably going to be one of my lower owned picks on the whole card there. Weezy, how about you? What is your fighter to fade?
Yeah, I mean, it would have been Till if Yeon Kim wasn't on this card. Good old Fire Fist. Maybe one of the most misleading nicknames in the whole UFC. They should call her Missing Fist because she couldn't hit water if she fell out of a boat. And I just don't see her doing much here. And and frankly, there are some things that I'm seeing in just the statistics of this particular fight that aren't lining up well for Kim. And that's that, Molly McCann is 3-3 in the UFC, but the 3 ladies that she's lost to have all been grappling heavy fighters: Taylor Santos, Julian Robertson, and I'm forgetting the third one right now, but they all took her down several times, while the fights that she's winning are against strikers. And Yeon Kim, maybe 1 takedown attempt in her entire UFC career, but I think 0. So when you talk about somebody that has literally no grappling upside whatsoever, they better be throwing a ton of volume, and they better have a chance to knock somebody out. Even though she did knock out Assam, I don't really see much out of Kim being able to knock out McCann here. So, I'm fading Yeon Kim. I think it's a bad matchup for her. I think she's going to wind up spending a lot of this fight on her back, unable to score points.
Sounds good. All right, Luke, what is your fighter to fade?
Yep, I'm sticking right with Weezy here. Yeon Kim. I think the Till pick is definitely a close second for me as well. But the reality is her best score is 112, and that was over Nadia Kassem, who's just not a UFC caliber fighter, which we know by now. I think she has the second worst inside the distance line on the entire slate. Weezy pretty much hit on all my main points here. She only stuffs takedowns at 42%. Molly will attempt 5.5 takedowns per 15 minutes. Not at a great accuracy, but she will attempt them, and I think she can probably at least get a couple here as well. Not to mention the fact that Kim does have a 10-inch reach advantage in this fight, but she has been outlanded and outstruck by smaller girls multiple times before. So it's not like her distance management is necessarily great. And McCann lands over 5 significant strikes per minute. So I'd probably say the stand-up is competitive just from like an optical consideration, that Kim probably is going to land some hard shots in the fight, but I'm assuming McCann will be able to find her way inside. But for Weezy's point as well, that, Kim just doesn't really possess much grappling upside, not a ridiculous amount of volume, not a ton of knockout upside on a card where there's just so many of these other fights that are projected to end inside the distance and fighters who have more finishing upside. Yeon Kim is my pick to fade this week.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you guys there. Brandon, thank you for the dono. Any Dana White's Contender Series picks? We'll quickly give our picks for those at the end. But yeah, appreciate the dono. But yeah, we'll cover that at the end as well as our picks for this card as well. So next we will move on. Oh, is there anything else you guys wanted to add? All right. Next we will go to our favorite dog. And let's start with Weezy. What is your favorite dog this week?
Yeah, this week I'm going to go with Derek Brunson. Brunson, one of these guys that is a very good DraftKings scorer, just on average. Like I mentioned before, he's scoring 4.08 DraftKings points per minute, and Darren Till's only allowing 2.11, which is pretty low. But that's a function of Till's style. He stands at distance, very very low volume, but I don't think Derek Brunson's going to win a striking match with Till. I think he's going to have to make this dirty. I think he's going to have to wrestle. And he's been 4-0 since joining up over at Sanford. And he's, I think, averaging 9 takedown attempts per fight in his last 4 fights. So this guy is definitely doing the kind of things that we want to see in order for him to score a healthy amount of points. You add that to the fact that if he doesn't get knocked out early, this fight probably goes the distance. He's going to have 25 minutes with which to rack up points. And if Till doesn't get him out of there early and he does have wrestling success, if he gets anywhere near that 4 points per minute that he's been averaging thus far as a UFC fighter in a 25-minute fight, man, that's 100 points just without any win points if he gets close to that 4.08 points that he's been averaging. Even if he only gets the 2.11 points per minute that Darren Till is allowing, still, if the fight goes 25 minutes, you're talking 50 points out of an underdog. That's pretty good. So, yeah, I think Brunson's one of the safest underdog picks on this card that's not close to 8,000.
I like it. For me, she's technically a dog on DraftKings. I know it's a pick 'em on the money line, but it's going to be Molly McCann for me. You take a look at her wins, and she actually scores pretty well. 109, 84, and 90.6 against Priscilla Ketchabeating. So, she's hit value each and every single time she's won her fight. And I think it's a very winnable fight here against Kim, who, like we said, could not hit water if it fell out of a boat. Terrible accuracy, 34%. And, the reach kind of concerns me. But if you watch tape on her, she does not use that reach at all. I think Molly's going to have a lot of success here in the striking, and she does not like how it's looking on the feet. Take her down. Terrible defense, takedown defense in Kim. And, got this from a Weezy stats here. Molly McCann averages 5 takedowns for 50 minutes attempted. So she's going to go for takedowns. I think she can get them. And if she can get on top, Kim is, kind of a fish out of water on her back as well. So I think McCann can get volume, can get takedowns. And another thing that Weezy mentioned as well, which really stuck out to me, you take a look at who she's losing to. Santos, who is a good grappler, Procopio, a good black belt grappler there, and then also Jillian Robertson, black belt. So when Molly McCann is losing, she is losing to grapplers, and Jinyu Kim is just not that. So my favorite dog, I know it's a pick 'em, but in terms of DraftKings, she is a slight dog. I do like Molly McCann. I like the volume, and I like the takedown upside. Luke, what is your favorite dog for this week?
Yeah, this is a really tough one for me. I'm not clamoring over any of the dogs on this card just because there's so much volatility. So I'm stepping out maybe on a bit of a ledge here, but I'm going David Zawada at 7.5K. He's only plus 122 to win the fight. So I think off the top, you're getting a little bit of salary based value. I also think he potentially actually could be safer in fighting a guy like Morono. I just think his skill set is largely pretty well rounded. I think he should be able to have some success standing here. He potentially could have some success on the ground as well. He's shown to be a competent submission grappler and submitting a tough Russian and Abubakar Nurmagomedov. So at 7.5K, like I said, it's not much conviction from me, but I think he's one of the more live dogs who's also somewhat more safe on this card. And if we do see a lot of these other dogs bust, an okay score by a dog just in a decision win in general could be enough to be on the optimal. So that's why Zawada's my favorite dog this week.
Yeah, I like it. If you take a look at Zawada and his losses, he actually is scoring pretty good as well. And you take a look at Zawada's finish rate, 89% finish rate, very dangerous anywhere the fight goes, 65% by knockout, 24% by submission. Morono has been knocked out twice. So, yeah, I think if Zawada does win, he has some serious upside. And like you said, in a loss, probably can score decent as well. Weezy, what is your favorite? That's it, right? Anything else you guys wanted to talk about?
Yeah, for dogs, there's just not. I mean, I looked for a while, and the reason I picked Brunson was more of a function of the fact that he's a dog in a 5-round fight, and everybody
Yeah.
else is in a 3-round fight. Because I'm kind of just leaning a lot of these favorites here, so I'm kind of having a hard time finding value in those lower priced guys.
Yeah, I feel it. Not many dogs stick out for sure. But we do have 70 of you in here. If you all can hit the like button, that'd be much, much appreciated. Also, subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And now we will be going to our favorite GPP play, our favorite tournament play here. We're looking for some upside. And I will start this one out. My favorite GPP play is going to be Charles Jourdain. This guy has a 100% finish rate, has never won by decision. And guess what? Julian Erosa has been finished a million times. 5 knockout losses for Julian Erosa, and he is very hittable. Take a look at how many significant strikes he absorbs. He absorbs 5.78 significant strikes per minute with a 50% striking defense. He is very, very hittable, and he definitely does not have a chin to back it up as well. So I think Jourdain's going to have many opportunities to not only win this fight, but to finish this fight in brutal fashion. And on top of that, I believe Erosa is coming in on short notice. And on top of that, he just got knocked out like 2 months ago. So yeah, I think the chin's horrible of Erosa. I think the striking defense is horrible of Erosa. And I think Charles Jourdain, if he does win, there's a very good chance that is a finish. He's never won by any other method than a finish. So I do like Charles Jourdain as my GPP play there. Weezy, what is your favorite GPP play this week?
I'm going to go with Aspinall. I'm a big Sergey Spivak fan. I really like his game. I really like well-rounded heavyweights because there are very, very few of them. And Spivak is one of them, and he's young because he's just getting better. But the problem is that Aspinall's young too. He's getting better. He's a black belt. And I just hate this stylistic matchup for Spivak due to the fact that he's taking this fight on basically 8 days' notice. It's not enough time. He needs a game plan that's going to be grinding on Aspinall for 3 straight rounds. And in order for him to be able to do that, he probably needs a full camp and needs to be in top physical condition. I don't even know if he was in Moldova when he took this call to take this fight because, you know, it might take him a couple of days just to get a visa and get out of there if that was the case. I don't know if Spivak is training in the United States right now. I assume he's in Moldova. I know he's got a young child at home. So flying across a big pond, taking this fight on 8 days' notice, facing a very powerful guy like Aspinall who's just cleaning people's clocks early and often. If this fight gets extended, I'm very worried, but I would be a lot more worried if Spivak had a full camp and wasn't taking this fight on 8 days' notice. So I think there's just a ton of upside here if Aspinall wins this fight in a predictable fashion.
Yeah, if Spivak did not take this on short notice, I'd probably be betting him at that price. But the short notice aspect, I'm with you, does concern me on the Spivak side. Luke, what is your favorite GPP play for this week?
Yep, I'm going Tom Aspinall as well. In full transparency, I've actually been a lot lower on Aspinall than most people, just given some of the question marks in extended fights. But from a GPP perspective, we're looking to win tournaments. We're looking for knockouts, finishes, and quick ones at that. And Aspinall kind of checks all the boxes for that here. You guys kind of touched on the short notice for Spivak. I don't think that's necessarily optimal. So yeah, at 9K, when even that upper range, I don't really love, and I'll get to my cash play a little bit later on. But in general, I don't really love that overall upper range. So Aspinall, high finishing upside. That's always my favorite GPP play.
Yep, I'll definitely have a ton of Aspinall myself. Anything else stick out to you guys?
There's a lot of guys that stick out at the top, but you know, I'm going to talk about my cash play here in a minute, so I'm going to leave it to that.
All right. How about we start with you then with your cash play? I think I know what you got, but what do you got for us, Weezy?
Yeah, I mean, it's the least surprising one. It's the one you don't need, you know, a professional capper telling you. But Jack Shore at 9,100, taking on Ludwig Shalinian on short notice. Shore, definitely one of the top scoring guys according to the stats that I keep. I've got him at 4.51 DraftKings points per minute. He's scoring 37% of his DraftKings points by striking, but 63% by grappling, averaging 101.4 points a fight. So, you know, and then his fights are averaging 117 points on the whole. So he's actually just, not only is he scoring a ton of points and winning every time, he's shutting out his opponent. I mean, it's really not close. The Azure fight was a little bit closer, but Jack Shore's style is one that is very difficult to deal with, even more difficult to deal with on short notice, like Shalinian is taking this fight on short notice. So yeah, I like everything about Jack Shore here. I mean, he's probably going to be damn near locked into my lineups this week.
Yeah, I feel that Jack Shore definitely does stick out to me as well. Luke, I have a feeling what you're going to say as well, but what's your favorite cash play?
Yeah, I'm going Jack Shore as well. I don't think there is a ton of overall safety on this card, but I do think Jack Shore is very evidently the most safest option. Obviously, the most likely guy on the card to win the fight overall at -500. So we're pushing actually 85% implied range, and has the second best inside the distance card on the slate, with his opponent Shalinian coming in with the worst inside the distance line on the slate. So like you said, I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to say what your favorite cash play is this week. With as much volatility on this card, I think Jack Shore is the safest option, coupled with that wrestling and grappling base that he brings, so he can score well, even in the scenario that he doesn't get Shalinian out of here. I think he will, but even if he doesn't, it probably comes with a lot of takedowns, a lot of top time, submission attempts, that type of deal. So I like Jack Shore.
Yep, I mean, not much to say here for me. I'm going Jack Shore as well, 9,100. Let's just say I think he's going to bring a razor and some shaving cream to the octagon on Saturday, and we'll leave it at that. All right, so
wait, just let me just jump in too. I mean, this dude's going to be like -600, and he's only 9,100. I mean, he should be priced up at like 9,600. It should be way, way, way harder to get Jack Shore into your lineup. So I mean, if you have lineups that don't have Shore in them and he winds up doing what we all think he's going to do, that lineup's going to be dead for all practical purposes.
Yeah, that's weird, right? Like, he should be literally 9,400, maybe 9,500. He's going to be so high owned this week. It's going to be crazy. Do you want to say what's up to some people in the chat? We have Thomas saying he has 5K on Shore, -275. Great line there. Fingers crossed the fight does not fall off. We got Jack Attack as well in the chat. Preston in the chat as well. Chase, I'm just Drew, what is up? And then also PayPal hanging out with us. If you all can hit the like button, that'd be much, much appreciated. And we will now get into our favorite value play. And let's start with Luke. What is your favorite value play this week?
Yeah, I'm going with the meatball here at I think it's she's 8K. Yeah, you guys pretty much hit the nail on the head, at least in regards to your favorite dog play there. She's going to attempt over 5 takedowns per 50 minutes. She doesn't get them at an overt high clip, but I don't see her facing a ton of resistance in terms of the defensive wrestling from Kim here if she decides to pursue, which statistically she has shown to do. And even though she is at a 10-inch reach disadvantage here, she still lands, 5 significant strikes per minute at a 50% clip, while still also fighting bigger girls. This is the biggest girl she's fought, but it's not as if she hasn't had success outstriking bigger girls as well. So at 8K, I'm curious to see where her ownership lies, because we could get a kind of a quasi-casual card where people just say it's a chick fight. It's projected to go the distance, -300, -400, fade the fight. I don't know. I think that's a mistake. And if that's kind of the general sentiment, I'm going to be really happy with my exposure on McCann, because I'm going to be probably more overweight to her than the field in most of my constructions.
Yep, I'm on Meatball as well. Also looking at potentially placing a bet on her throughout the week. I've not done it yet. But for me, for a value play, I'm kind of looking at Sergey Spivak. Again, Weezy touched on the short notice aspect, which I do not like. But if Spivak does win, he's going to score a ton of points. If he does win, he's going to get takedowns. He's going to get control time. And like I said, I still have question marks about Tal Aspinall and his takedown defense. Watched a ton of tape on the guy from a couple of years ago, and he got taken down a ton. And yes, that was 4 or 5 years ago, but still just not something you really want to see, especially for like a -300 favorite in Aspinall. And, if Sergey Spivak has stayed ready, if his cardio is somewhat on point, maybe he can extend this fight. Tom Aspinall has never won over that 1.5 round mark. So, Sergey Spivak, he has a style where if he does win, if he does pull off this upset, I think it's going to score a ton of points. But with that said, there also is a very good chance that Aspinall does knock him out. But yeah, 7,200, I'm definitely willing to take some shots, as I do see some red flags, and I still have some question marks on the Tom Aspinall side. Weezy, how about you? What is your favorite value play?
Yeah, I'm also on Molly McCann here. I've got a bet on Molly McCann. Actually, a big bet for a women's fight for me, which is 1.5 units. But I like her a lot here. And I just want to go into the stats here a little bit with you guys and talk about why I'm betting her. And I mentioned she lost to 3 grapplers, Procopio, Santos, and Robertson. And in those fights, she had 0 takedown attempts, 0 takedown attempts, and 4 takedown attempts. So you don't try to take down grapplers. The 4 takedown attempts were against Tyler Santos. But when she fought 3 strikers by the names of Diana Belbita, Ariane Lipski, Priscilla Cachoeira, 5 out of 14 on takedown attempts against Belbita, 2 out of 2 on takedown attempts against Lipski, and 2 out of 11 on takedown attempts against Cachoeira. So what I'm seeing here that I like is that we're talking in those fights against pure strikers, 27 takedown attempts in those 3 fights. That's 9 per fight. I think that this is the first time that we're going to see Yeon Kim actually out there actively defending takedowns, because Yeon Kim has only had 7 takedowns shot against her in her UFC career. Never more than 2 in a fight. So we're going to, for the very first time, see Yeon Kim trying to defend takedowns here. Her opponents are 4 out of 7 on takedown attempts. So even Molly, who's a low percentage wrestler, could probably even get takedowns at a 40% clip here. I think she'll be getting them every round. And in those fights, which is the last 3 fights where Yeon Kim has been taken down, 127 seconds of control time against, 63, and 294 against Nadia Kassem. So if you take her down, you can keep her there too. So not only do I like McCann to win the fight, and when Molly McCann wins fights like she did against Belbita, Lipski, and Cachoeira, here are her scores in those fights. 109.37, 84.72, and 90.62. Those are all really good scores for somebody that you'll be getting for 8,000. So there are several reasons I like Molly McCann to win this fight. One of the reasons I like her so much in DraftKings is her path to victory really does seem to be the grappling. She's got poor takedown offense, but Yeon Kim's takedown defense is bad, and it's easy to hold her down. I see this being at least a 90-point win for McCann if she gets it.
Yep, I definitely agree there. Anything else you wanted to add, Luke?
No, I think we beat that one over the head. War Molly.
Let's go, Meatball. Remember the last time I put a lot of faith into Molly McCann, it didn't work out great. So hopefully she does better this time. All good, Gaming Wolf. Different Sergey. All good. All right, Jack Attack. See you. Good luck for Dana White's, which is happening in about 22 minutes. Okay, so we will move on to our dart throw. My favorite part of the video. Love dart throws. They're so much fun. And we will start with Luke. What is your favorite dart throw for this week?
Yeah, I'm going Julian Erosa down here. I think you could definitely throw Derek Brunson potentially in there as well. Even Spivak, I don't hate those options. But I guess with Erosa into that dart throw category, I acknowledge all of the defensive issues that he has. But I think he's finished 9 of his last 10 wins. He's just kind of a guy who's going to go out there and force action, force finishes. It might result in him getting finished. But, he can strike, he can kick, has grappling proficiency as well, has some Darce Anaconda chokes, a decent front headlock series in there. So at 7.3, I think when you're buying down over, in a couple of your constructions, I think Erosa is definitely worth a punt, because if he does get a W here, I think he scores well. Coupled with the fact that I just feel like Jourdain has really underperformed his expectation so far in the UFC as well. So I don't hate Erosa as a punt, but I wouldn't necessarily roster him heavy.
No, I like it. I mean, Erosa, if he does win, there's a chance he could finish it. Definitely a finisher is Erosa. And that fight in general, I want to be very high on. For me, my dart throw is going to be Khalil Rountree, 7,700. He screwed a ton of people last time, including me. I had so much Rountree against Marcin Prachnio, Pragnio had been knocked out like 3 times, all in the first round. Everybody, including me, thought that, Rountree was probably going to go out there and knock him out in the first round. It didn't happen. But, I feel like a lot of people are counting him out this week, and I definitely get it. He is very, knockout or bust, doesn't really do much. And I can definitely see a situation where, he does a lot of nothing like he did in the Pragnio fight. But if he does win, there's a really good chance that it is by knockout. Modestas Bukauskas has been knocked out several times, has been dropped a lot as well. 50% striking defense. Bukauskas has very hittable, kind of has that tall man's defense. And, if Rountree does show up, sometimes he does show up, sometimes he doesn't. But if we kind of get the Rountree that showed up against Eric Anders, I think he kills Modestas Bukauskas. It's just we might get the the Rountree that showed up against Pragnio and look like absolute crap. So my dart throw, I think he's going to be pretty low owned. Khalil Rountree, I do think he has some upside to potentially get a finish here, but I can't play too much of him because you can never really count on Rountree. So as far as a dart throw, though, I will pick him for the dart throw there. Uncle Weezy, what is your dart throw for this week?
I love both of your guys' selections. Rountree in particular has like Razak Al Hassan vibes because he's underperformed lately, and we know that he's got a ton of power. So if that's how he wins if he gets it done. And then if you look at Bukauskas in the UFC, he's been knocked down a couple of times already. He's shown that he's a little bit chinny. So yeah, I like Rountree. I like what Luke said as well with Erosa because Jourdain is hittable as well, and he's been knocked down a couple of times in the UFC. I mean, Kulabau got him clean and sent him to the canvas. So, yeah, I like both of those picks. I'm going with Luigi Vendramini. I think he might be a little bit under-owned. I agree with what Luke said earlier in the fight about this being a fantastic fight to target. And I think Luke's right, but I also think it's kind of going to be under-owned because between Vendramini and Pimblett, we've only got them combined for 3 UFC fights. So, there's some information that's missing for a lot of the Draftkings players there. We don't really know what these guys look like so much in the UFC. And Vendramini's kind of been hidden on undercards. His last fight against Perez Ziam was a little bit, it was a little bit forgettable. But Vendramini's got a 100% finish rate, 44% by sub, 56% by knockout. Paddy Pimblett's got an average fight time of 8.11 minutes. For Vendramini, it's 4.55. So we could definitely see some fireworks here. We could definitely see a quick finish. And the young man coming across the pond for his UFC debut might have some jitters here. If Vendramini gets it done and he wins this fight, I have a feeling he's going to score a ton of points.
Yep, I'm definitely with you there. And yeah, the fight in general, I think it's a very good fight to target. And I'm with you. I think we can see Luigi going under the radar. Anything else stick out to you guys from a dart throw perspective?
I just want to mention that, we haven't even mentioned the Lungiambula Barriault fight. We haven't even mentioned the Martinez Rojo fights. Yep. And those are going to be good fights too. So, you definitely got to look into a little bit more than what we talked about here today. But that Martinez Rojo fight is a great fight to target. It's the first fight of the night. And Marcelo Rojo is a killer be killed fighter. So, he could be a nice dart throw because I don't think a lot of people are expecting him to beat Martinez. But we've seen Martinez underperform in the past. So, Marcelo Rojo could be a good long dart throw. Same thing with Dalcha Lungiambula. If Lungiambula gets his game plan working, he's going to be getting takedowns and control time. And, he could probably rack up a decent amount of points if his conditioning holds up. So, yeah, just because we didn't talk about all the fights on this card doesn't mean that there's not some other spots that are sticking out.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad you brought those up, especially that Martinez-Rojo fight. Rojo has not been to a decision in his last 18 fights, so there's a very good chance that, he's a killer-be-kill fighter. There's a very good chance he can go out there and knock out Jonathan Martinez, or there's a very good chance he could get knocked out as well, just with his fighting style, him coming forward, very reckless. I could definitely see a finish happening. You mentioned the Dalcha probably has takedown upside, control time upside, whereas Marc-André Barriault, I think he has late finish upside, volume upside as well. All right, guys, in the chat, if you guys can start typing some questions, I will be glad to answer those. But first, we're going to take a look at how we did last week between me, Weezy, Z, and Luke. And last week, Uncle Weezy got it done. Uncle Weezy got in first place. This week, Uncle Weezy was in last place. He had Petrosky, Martinez, Lee, Barbosa, Sam Alvey, and Vanessa Demopoulos, scoring 316.78 points. Yikes. And in front of him, just ever so slightly, by less than, I think, like 0.30 points, Z with Aldrich, Edson Barbosa, Daniel Rodriguez, Sam Alvey, DiChirico, and Sabatini with 317.14. And then in second place is Luke with Petrosky, Battle, good call there, Barbosa, Emmers, Brady, and Daniel Rodriguez with 388.82. And then I got first with Mana Martinez, Petrosky, Muradov, Daniel Rodriguez, Brady Highstand, and then Abdul Razak Al Hassan with 489.78 DraftKings points there. So definitely redeemed myself after getting last week. And, this lineup I actually put in single and cash as well and got second place out of the $50 single entry. So that was cool to see there. This week, we have different lineups, and we will start with Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, you're definitely going to be looking to bounce back this week, and what do you have for us this time?
Yeah, I got a pretty chalky lineup here, in my opinion, but I'm going with Jack Shore at 9,100, Tom Aspinall at 9,000, Mark Barriault at 8,400. I see him getting a finish late in this fight, and he puts on a lot of volume. Lungiambula's conditioning is definitely suspect, and he drives a game plan that is going to drain his gas tank. Molly McCann at 8,000. I'm a big fan of her this week. Luigi Vendramini at 7,900, and Derek Brunson bringing up the rear, the cheapest guy on my roster, 7,400. Let's go. I need a bounce back.
I'm sure you will, Weezy, for sure. For me, I'm going to go Jack Shore, 9,100, Charles Jourdain, 8,900, Molly McCann, 8,000, Tom Aspinall, 9,000, taking a shot on David Zawada for that finish upside, 7,500, and then also going with the main event dog and Derek Brunson. Hopefully he does not get knocked out in that first round. Luke, what is your lineup for this week?
Actually, very similar to Weezy in a lot of ways. I'm got Shore, Aspinall, MAB, McCann, going with Khalil, taking the punt on Khalil, and
nice.
David Zawada.
Wow.
Yeah, I like it.
Very close. Sure. Yeah, we're very close there.
We're all pretty close.
Brunson and Vendramini, and you got Rountree and Zawada.
Ooh, all right. It's going to be interesting for sure. All right. We'll answer some questions in the chat here. Then we'll head out. We have Contender Series in about 13 minutes. We'll kick it off to Weezy. We talked about it a little bit. Gamey Wolf says, any thoughts on the first fight of the night, which is Rojo and Martinez, right?
Yeah, Marcelo Rojo is one of those fighters that no matter who he's fighting, you tend to like that fight doesn't go to decision prop because of the fighting style of Rojo. He's kill or be killed. He's well-rounded. He can hurt you in a number of different ways. And then if I'm not mistaken, he also loses in a few different ways. Let's see. Rojo has been finished by knockout 14% of the time and submission 57% of the time. So that means, we're talking about a 71% finish rate against for Rojo. And Martinez has been finished by knockout in 1 out of his 4 losses. So, that's a great fight to target. And I like that one just from you could get Rojo for cheap, and even Martinez might be a little bit underowned as a favorite, but I like Martinez to finish Rojo if he wins. So yeah, that's a great one.
I like it. I'll answer this one. Is Z no longer doing the show? And do you agree with decision loss to Brady Highstand? Z will no longer be doing the show. He's going to be doing the show with me, Weezy, Narco Cop on my channel on Saturday, 1 hour prior to the prelims. But, Z's just had trouble getting everything done on a Tuesday. He's usually getting it done later in the week. He does other, organizations as well. As far as the Brady Highstand decision, I personally did score it for Brady, but it was a very close fight. No complaints from me. I think Brady scored like almost 80 points in a loss as well, which is just crazy. But yep, I thought Brady got done, but it was a close fight. Let's see what we got here. Luke, Justin saying, what one fight do you guys see going the distance to split decision, both fighters having a lot of volume?
I'd probably go with the chicks. Just, most likely going to go the distance. Man, there's a couple other interesting ones. I'm actually going to say Barriault and Dalcha goes the distance. I think we're going to see some hairy moments in that. We could see Dalcha have some early takedown success. I think Barriault comes on late. I definitely can see a late finish there. He has, I think, won his last couple fights in the 3rd round. Definitely hits hard, but Dalcha's also a tough guy too. I wouldn't be shocked if that's a high action-based decision.
I can see it.
I could also see that Morano-Zawada fight going the distance and just being back and forth war real close at the end.
Yeah,
those
that fight's
guys
going to be a banger.
Throw down.
Yep, 100%. Weezy, we'll go back to you. Adam struggles to see any outcome on Till losing. Any thoughts on that?
Outcome Till loses. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, I could see, look, Till, this is something that Luke talked about last week when he talked about Sam Alvey, right? And the optics of just backing up and waiting to counter strike. Well, the optics of Darren Till in the cage are absolutely horrible. Okay. The guy does not throw any volume. So let's say Brunson's shooting for takedowns unsuccessfully over and over and over again. But if Brunson doesn't get tired, Till could absolutely lose the fight just because he's not landing enough. He could lose a striking-based decision because he's not throwing enough. The optics of what Till does, the optics show that he's winning most of the time by knockout. But you have to still land strikes. You have to land heavy strikes. And if you're not throwing enough, you might wind up on the wrong side of that judge's decision. So, and then also we have to remember that Darren Till is a welterweight. He's a blown up welterweight who couldn't make welterweight. He's almost as big as Brunson, but Brunson's been wrestling 185ers since he was in Strikeforce. Okay. So this guy has been around for a minute and he's been wrestling guys that are much bigger than Darren Till and doing it successfully. So I could see Brunson having success with wrestling. I could see Till being low volume enough to lose a couple of rounds that he might have actually won, but just due to the optics of it. So yeah, I'm not laying that juice on Darren Till. If I wanted to get value on a Till bet, I would bet him by knockout. I think that's his best path.
100% agree there. Gaming Wolf, please don't do huge parlays in betting. I agree with you there, Gaming Wolf. So what we'll do now is we'll go through and give our predictions for the card, and I will start. I'm going to go with Darren Till. A little bit iffy about that one. I think he's very knockout dependent, but I do think he gets that knockout at some point in the fight. Tom Aspinall, another pick I'm very iffy on. Alex Marone, I'm going with. Khalil Rountree to get the upset. Paddy Pimblett, Molly McCann, Jack Shore, Charles Jourdain, Marc-André Barriault, and then I'm actually going with the underdog and Marcelo Rojo to get the upset as well. Weezy, who are you going with for this week?
Sorry, was away from the mute button. I'm going to pick Brunson in the main event. I'm going to pick Aspinall. I'm going to pick Zawada. I'm also going to pick Rountree as the underdog because I just don't see him winning. So I think he'll probably win just because he's one of those high variance fighters, I'm going to go with Luigi Vendramini. I'm definitely going with Molly McCann. I've got a 1.5 unit bet on her at -105. Jack Shore in an ass shaving. I got Charles Jourdain to knock out Erosa. I got Barriault to win in the third round against Lungiambula. And I do have Jonathan Martinez to get a second round finish against Marcelo Rojo.
Sounds good. Luke, what are you picking for this week?
Yep, I'm going Till, Aspinall, Zawada. I am going to say Rountree gets it done, but I just do not feel great about that fight in general. I'm going to say Paddy actually does survive, but once again, don't feel great about that one. McCann, Shore, Jourdain, Marc-André Barriault, and Jonathan Martinez.
Sounds good. And then somebody asked about Dana White Contender Series picks. If you guys have looked into it, I know, Luke, you have for sure. What are your picks for the 4 fights on the card?
I hate to be that guy, but I'm actually behind a paywall with it. So kind of got to keep them a little close to the people who are ponying up some cheese.
Yep, fair enough. Weezy, you have any picks, or did you not have time to look into it?
Yeah, that sucks. I'm not behind Luke's paywall because I was just going to say whatever the fuck he said because I have not researched this one. I know that Azamat's a huge favorite in that main event, but other than that, I don't know anything about these guys on this card. I haven't researched it.
Yeah, I researched 3 out of the 4. I'll go Azazat. I'll go with Brito. I'll go with Victor, and then AJ Fletcher there. But not much confidence in that Victor Carlos fight. Did not really look into that one. Any final questions, guys? Anything else you guys want to mention, Luke or Weezy?
Not that I can think of right now.
All right. What is up, Justin? Yeah, but yeah, thank you guys for hanging out. I had a decent amount of people in here. The Contender Series is starting, I think, in like 5 minutes. So we're going to head out. If you guys can leave a like on your way out. Also subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. We will see you very, very soon. I'll kick it, Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, where can they find you and what do you have going on throughout the week? I know you're a busy guy as of late and you have something going on tonight as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Check me out on Twitter at MMA Weezy, and you can go to my YouTube channel, Uncle Weezy. I do balls deep breakdowns of fights, and tonight after the Contender Series at 10 p.m. Central Time, I'll be going live to do a full card breakdown entitled Just the Tip, and we will be doing that from 10 to about 11:15 tonight after the Contender Series is done. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks, Pub Sports Radio, for having us. I love doing this show with you guys.
For sure. Luke, where can they find you and what do you have going on throughout the week?
Yep, SWR_betting on Twitter, patreon.com/SWR betting, bets, content, and then talking about the Contender Series. I am over a part of the team at dailyfanmma.com now, doing bets and content exclusively through the Daily Fan site as well. So if you guys are looking for my advice there, bets and content, check that out as well.
There we go. And as far as me, you can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers. Instagram is DFS by the numbers. My full card breakdown prediction video is out. I'm going to be recording my DraftKings video tonight, probably post that tomorrow, going live as always Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, and then live again on Saturday, 1 hour prior to the prelims. Did a debut last week called Best Bet with me, Z. Uncle Weezy is going to be on there. Billy replaced him last week. Weezy could not make it. And then also Narco Cop will be on there as well. So come check that out. That's about it, guys. Good luck on your bets for Contender Series. Good luck on your bets on your DraftKings for UFC Vegas 36. And we'll talk to you very soon.